Hi, this is Shubham Tiwari, and I welcome you to Changemakers, a show brought to you by Wonder Publish Magazine, where we try to bring to you the faces that are changing the face of education, innovation, and leadership in India. Our today's guest has over 20 years of experience in various leadership roles in business. He is an innovator, entrepreneur, and an educationist. Welcome, Mr. Jitesh Khanna, to Wonder Publish Magazine.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is all mine.
Sir, let's start with leadership. How do you gauge potential in people? And as you say, identifying and leveraging assets in teammates is, you enjoy it. You enjoy doing it. So, what's the process behind this?
So it starts basically from the very fact that every human life has immense potential and unique potential. Um, what usually happens is that we expect certain people to do certain things, but they are made for some other kind of a thing. So somebody who might be very good at art
Yeah,
might be terrible at mathematics. So if you
absolutely.
expect a child who's got an artistic bent to do great with
Yeah,
numbers, is basically having a very wrong kind of expectation. So the entire world, I feel, has this plague of expectations.
expectations.
What a true leader does is that first of all, he gets rid of his own ego, his own limited self. And the moment you get rid of ego, you live a very expansive state of life. Then you're able to see other people also in the right way. You're able to see the worth of other people. But usually, what happens is if a leader is or a boss is driven by ego, his prime job is always to be on the top and always to look down on people. Whereas true leadership skills is when you look at people, you see where can I find what is good about this person. Maybe this person is very good at talking, or maybe
True.
this other person is very good at selling stuff. So you have to identify. You have to have that kind of wisdom, which comes through probably experience,
Yeah,
probably studying good people, or working with great people, or working on yourself rigorously. And
yeah,
that's when you do that, you're able to see the potential within a person. You're able to see what that person is good at, and then you're able to nurture it. I think it's as simple as that, and that's something that people have not been. This is the cheat code. There's no other cheat code. You look at people, you work with them, you identify their greatest qualities,
yeah.
whatever they have, and you just help them nurture it. That's it.
Wonderful. So, you said, it's about speaking and talking. If we look at your profile, you're a good, a prolific speaker, if I may say. So, how do you connect with, a large audience like that? Because when you're in a leadership position, you have many people to, take care of. So, how do you
Yeah.
manage so many expectations at the same time?
So I'll tell you honestly, we human beings are born multifaceted.
Okay.
Um, I think the biggest folly of human race is that we believe that we can do this, we can't do that. So the limitation stays here. So the moment you cross the barrier of limitation, you're able to do anything that you want to do. About speaking, initially when I started speaking, I was an extremely nervous person. I would,
Really? Okay.
yeah, I was a very. I'm talking about years ago. I would speak and I would go tongue tied. But the best part was people who trained me pushed me. They said, I don't care if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
People will forget that. People will
Yeah.
remember the amazing stuff you said. So once it happened, twice it happened. And within a few, uh, public keep speaking sessions, I
Yeah.
started speaking better and better and better. So I think these are the skills that you can develop. So if today you can't speak well, doesn't mean that you will not you'll be like this all your life. You
Okay.
can push yourself, get rid of your fear, and the
Yeah.
moment that fear goes away, it just becomes instant. It becomes like muscle memory. You can go
Okay.
to in front of a wide audience and you can speak your heart out. The second most important aspect is that you have to be well informed. I meet a lot of youngsters who hardly read anything.
Reading. Okay.
Yeah, so it's extremely important that you should love, enjoy reading. And then when you have that kind of a skill, you
Yeah.
read, you acquire a lot of knowledge, good knowledge, practice it. When you
All kinds of
practice it,
books.
then
Yeah.
you should read all kinds of books. I
Okay.
have been always telling people, even if you get a pamphlet to read it. Yeah,
Wonderful.
because I'll tell you, because reading goes directly into your subconscious.
Yeah.
Stuff that sometimes you forget stays there in your heart.
Yeah.
And when you practice good stuff, when you read something and you practice it, it develops conviction. And when you speak with conviction, it
Yeah.
shows. You can't fake
Absolutely.
conviction. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. So, speaking of, kids, and you have been also involved with many schools. We
yeah.
see like you as a mentor, a speaker, a chief guest, let's say a very general term. So, how do you see, schools at this stage of time where, things are opening up a little, people are not
Yeah.
sure what's coming, and there are certain tools available now, education for education. So, how do you look at this time in terms of education and for kids specifically?
So for kids, So one part is that they're very happy. Most of the kids are very happy because they don't have to go to school. They're very happy. And if you now tell them to go to school, they'll be extremely sad. Jokes apart, uh, the pandemic has, of course, somewhere created this environment where the children cannot go out. So school is not only about going there, attending classes. It's about interaction between kids. It's
Yeah.
about human skills. It's about how you grow, how your physiology, your psychology develops, how you pick up stuff from your friends, how you
Yeah.
learn new things, and that shapes your character. You can't do that staying at home. So it is very important that the moment we are all vaccinated, we should go out to school. Having said that, the schools have also realized that a lot of stuff can be done online. So what I see in future is a more hybrid form of education where I think most of the classes would happen online, or sorry,
Yeah.
offline, but some of the subjects will be taken care offline too. And I
Yeah.
think that would be a great way because kids would save on traveling, they would save on other stuff. So there'll be so any challenge that human race has always faced. Humans are so wonderful that we have found out the ways to turn that challenge into some sort of an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's
True.
the greatest, that is the greatest achievement of human race. We are apex predators only because we know what to do at the right time, and
Exactly.
and take advantage of it. So I see a lot of hybrid education happening in the future.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we speak about your, association with schools, I mean, you also, come in contact with so many educators, teachers, and all.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is, still needed to make that perfect education is that teacher that will take India, to the next level, let's say in this century?
Um, there's a very clear cut answer that I have.
Okay.
You need to have compassion for children. Now you have
Okay.
to understand, there's a saying in English that it is easier to build stronger children than to repair broken men.
Wow.
So a lot
Yes.
of children, they come from dysfunctional families. A lot of children have their insecurities. A lot of children are lonely. A lot of children are scared. And when they go to schools, apart from education, what they need is a human touch,
Right.
a sense of belonging, a sense of being nurtured. So I think India has one of the best skilled force in terms of teachers. We have such an amazing, you go to any school, you have an amazing team of teachers. You have
Right.
very learned people and stuff. But what we really need is that humanistic education where we are able to really nurture that child. We are able to see the child's potential. And a lot of schools are doing that. In fact, I
Okay.
see a lot of schools, they closely monitor a child. They see what the child is good at. Probably he's good at academics, probably he's good at sports, he's good at something else. And then they encourage the child. What the teachers right now in India need is cutting edge education. So cutting edge education will involve human skills, as
Right.
understanding the psychology of children, at the same time how to efficiently teach them.
Yeah.
So there has to be an element of joy in studying, which is
Absolutely.
usually missing in school. Kids are very scared of going in front of their teachers. So I think that aspect needs to be taken care of. If education becomes fun in India, it's
Yeah.
going to be a great thing. Yeah.
Wonderful. So, I mean, if I take you, back at the beginning of this pandemic when it began, we would like to know. I mean, what was your initial days? How did they look like when it all
So
began? I
so
mean,
so I'm an early riser, so my day
yeah.
starts somewhere around 5 6 o'clock.
Okay.
It starts with I get up in the morning and I the first thing I do is I freshen up and I do a bit of meditation and the chanting that I do.
Yeah, I'll come to that
Uh,
question. Yeah, yeah. Meditation and
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. And then after that, I would quickly grab a small bite and go to the gym,
Yeah.
work out, come back. And something that I do every day before sleeping is plan my day. So I have a planner. So I write down what are the stuff that I'm supposed to do.
Right.
So if there are 10 things that I want to do, I write 15. So it's always
Okay.
better to push yourself.
Oh,
Even
wonderful.
things like, of course, things like I have to meet so and so person, I have to have a meeting here, I have to supposed to give a check here or probably take a check from there,
Yeah.
and stuff like I have to read this book, I have to finish this series, I have to watch this documentary and stuff like that, so that you have a very nicely planned day.
Yeah.
And then, of course, from say 10 11 till 5 6 o'clock, I'm working.
Okay.
And from that evening, from evening 6 7 o'clock onwards, it's usually social time with my friends. I always like to unwind with my friends. Friends are an
Okay.
excellent thing. Please have a lot of friends. Friends bring a lot of joy in our life. Even if you have one or two good friends, that is amazing. And then a lot of social stuff that I do. I work with a lot of NGOs. I work with a lot of people. I connect with them. That's the
Yeah.
time, and then accordingly, if I can find a suitable day, then we plan other stuff. But my work, so it's basically between my work and the social work that I do,
Yeah.
and plus this the stuff that I like enjoying. Like I write poetry.
Yeah.
I am very fond of reading. That
Yeah.
very fond of reading,
Yep.
and other stuff that I do. So life has to be a balance of all these things. One is born to
Absolutely.
enjoy life. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
not born to
True.
just work like a log.
No, no, absolutely not. And I'm glad that you say that, poetry is at the heart of everything that you do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coming to, meditation and all these things, and I saw your Facebook as well, where we have a mutual friend, Seni Ashish,
Yeah, yeah,
big
yeah, yeah,
writer who lives in
yeah, yeah,
Himachal
yeah,
Pradesh.
yeah.
So I'm so glad to see, someone of your position so much interested in these things. So can you tell us, is there any connection between, you finding poetry in everything and, success in life, let's say in terms of numbers in
Yeah.
leadership? Yeah.
So I'll tell you, I am a firm believer in. Um, so nowadays, people use the term law of attraction, which I find very loose kind of a term.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer that the consciousness that is within us, चेतना, जिसको हिंदी में हम चेतना बोलते हैं,
Chetna ji.
वो जो हमारे अंदर है, that attracts everything in our life. So however we shape, whichever way we shape the consciousness within us,
Yeah.
is the same thing will manifest in our environment. And the most beautiful thing that a lot of great people left is poetry. So मेरी खासकर favorite poetry is uh, the Sufi poetry. And Sufi
Okay.
poetry has two sides to it. One is of course our own subcontinent. आपने सुने होगा बुले शाह, वारिस शाह,
जी जी जी
इन सबकी poetry है,
जी.
Sultan Bahu, Hazrat Sultan Bahu.
Wow.
And then the Persian poets,
जी.
equally amazing Persian poets, Rumi. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of Jalaluddin Rumi,
जी.
Hafiz, Rabi al Basra, and all those poets. So when you read them, unki poetry mein there's this practicality and there's this mystical side of life. Like
Okay.
Rumi in one of his poetry says, if you are irritated by every rub, how will your mirror be polished? Now that is very good for managers and that is
Wow.
very good for people who are running,
The
businesses.
connection is there.
Is
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly that every time there's an adversity or a problem, it is like a rub to your mirror, and the more it is rubbed, the more it shines.
Yeah.
So the more you face your challenges, your fears, and your problems, the more you grow as a human being. So poetry has a deep connection with life, and the more I'm able to absorb poetry, the more I feel
Right.
my life expands.
Wonderful. So more leaders, should take a cue from here and start reading more.
I hope
And
so.
speaking of reading, I mean, we see a wonderful background, even if it's a virtual one. So, I
Yeah.
mean, what are your, favorite books, let's say, top 5 books, if you can tell us?
Okay, so top 5 books. My top 5 books would be this book called Happiness by Dr. Daisaku Ikeda.
Okay.
Then there's a book by Dr. Brian Weiss called Many Lies, Many Masters.
Okay.
And,
Wonderful.
and this book I read almost 25, 30 years back
Mm-hmm.
when I was very young, 25 years, I think back. And it talks about past life regression, reincarnation,
Oh,
karma.
wow.
And that made me realize that everything in the universe is connected through karma.
Right.
Then there are other books. Bhagavad Gita is definitely there.
Okay.
I have, since I was a child, my grandmother gifted me a Bhagavad Gita, and the very aspect of karma,
Yeah.
karma yogi, being a karma yogi,
Karma Yogi.
is because I feel all the greatest people in the world have been karma yogis.
Right.
They walk the talk, which
Yeah.
is very important.
Yeah.
Apart from them, that hundreds of books. There's Rumi's books that I really love. There are books by Pablo Neruda. He's a
Yes.
Chilean
Wonderful.
poet. I'm
South
sure
American.
the whole
Yeah.
yeah. So he's a great Chilean poet, Pablo Neruda. I
Yeah.
love him. I love him to death. He's one of the greatest poets ever lived.
Wonderful.
Yeah. There is another Arabic poet, Nizar Kabani. This part of the world doesn't know much about
Yeah.
him, but he was a great Syrian poet. Nizar Kabani. You should read his poetry. You will really love his poetry. So I love poetry by Kabir. Kabir was one of the greatest poets
Greatest
ever to be
poets. Yeah.
born on our
True.
subcontinent. Amir Khusro, his
जी
poetry so
बिल्कुल.
wonderful. The devotion of mentor-disciple relationship in his poetry is so beautiful. You see that he learned from his mentor and the amount of love and respect he had for his mentor,
Right.
and to show the love and respect, he grew so much in life. So I think
Yeah.
one of the greatest ways to repay our teachers is to bring glory to them. So
Okay.
so there are
So
many books. I can just go on and on.
yeah. But you said, one interesting thing that you started reading, very young. You were
Yeah.
interested in these things at very young age. So would you say, I mean, to parents, let's say, to, consciously read these books to their kids who are, not going to schools nowadays, of course, so they have more time, so they can read. can they start reading these books like Bhagavad Gita and all?
Yeah, they can start with. There are a lot of there are books. Gita for kids is there.
Oh
There is
yes, yes.
Chicken Soup for Soul for children.
Right.
There are wonderful books out there. I'm telling you, if you start looking for,
Yeah.
there is an enormous amount of stuff that is available. Hoga kya ki when the parents will get these books and read to their children,
Yeah.
reading and sharing is a process which is a two-way process. They'll learn a lot of things too. It is very important. Nowadays parents are not studying at all. They're not reading books.
Yes.
The max
Sadly.
they
Yeah.
do is probably read a newspaper, which
Yeah.
is full of negativity. If you see a newspaper is they condense all the negativity of the world and put it there. I mean, I'm nothing against newspapers. I want people to read business newspapers, but there's so much of crime and all sorts of things there.
Yeah.
I want parents to, instead of watching a Netflix movie with their child, read a book, probably
Read a
a
book.
chapter of a book.
Jungle Book,
In a
let's say.
book,
Yeah.
yeah, anything.
Anything.
Rudyard Kipling has wrote amazing jungle book.
Yeah.
In fact, his poetry, If, is one of the most incredible poetries that is there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Again, finding a direction in life in poetry, that kind of a thing. So parents will
right.
be able to really create a lot of children will be able to create a lot of character through these books. That is very important.
Absolutely. And coming back to innovation part, since you are you have been there, I mean, in various segments of business. I mean, you're in real estate as well, and you are in so many roles that we see you. So what do you say, what kind of innovation you're looking forward to next in the future, let's say? When we say, let's narrow it down to education.
Yeah. So I was actually coming to that only. I think everything starts from education system in India.
Yeah.
We have a very robust education system in India. It's a great education system. It's easier to get admissions in foreign universities, not in IIMs and IITs. It is so competitive.
So terribly difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. But then I have realized over the time, places like IIT and IIM have become elite institutes for certain people.
Okay.
People. Whereas I want this kind of quality education should be given to every child of India.
Every school, yeah.
Every child deserves it. Just because a child doesn't get 99.8% marks doesn't mean he's not good enough. I have seen in life, in sometimes, children who were backbenchers turned out to be greater successes than children who were the front benchers and toppers in the class.
Wow.
And simply because they had far more character, far more compassion and spirit inside them, and they were more forbearing. There are a lot of grit. And there's so many people who have been successful in schools and colleges all their lives. And the moment they saw a little bit of failure in their work, they just shattered like pack of cards. So education that reaches out to each person.
Yeah.
Every child should get the quality education that, so say a millionaire's child gets this kind of a special education. The quality is the same quality that a boy from a slum should get. Why should he not get it? He is also the citizen of the country. He is also human life. The real truth is that जब आपके पास से आपके सब titles छीन लिए जाते हैं, आपका पैसा छीन लिया जाता है, उसके बाद जो आप रहते हैं, वही आप सही में हैं.
जी.
और वो that child who has come back from that background, if he's given that kind of quality education, you will not see any crime in the society. You will not see any. You will see great growth in society happening. You will see the society becoming more compassionate and more happy. Because education not only gives you a job, it expands your mind, which is very important. So in future, I want absolute quality education, the democratization of education, very democratic form of education that goes to everyone, not to the elite.
Right. And as you say, I mean, you're a firm optimist. We can see from all your, readings to your whatever you're doing. So mental health is, one of the biggest problems. It seems that, many people are telling many things to kids nowadays. You should do this, you should do that, you should. So what would you, say to people who are kids who are, finding it difficult to connect with, adults who are, giving them advice, even on mental health? They're telling them, but they don't get it. So how do you, tackle this?
So again, two aspects. One aspect is please stop giving advice on mental health. This is a job of a professional.
Yes. Absolutely.
I have seen so many times, and I have so many times corrected a lot of people when they talk about mental health. Even at forums, I've been asked about mental health, and I've been very clear about this. That listen, I'm not a healthcare professional.
Right.
So whatever I'm saying is not, it's not from the book. So it's better to go to a healthcare professional. One, two.
Correct.
the root cause of all the problem is the competitiveness that the parents have. कि so and so का बेटा तो इतना अच्छा कर रहा है, तुम तो
जी
इतना अच्छा नहीं कर रहे हो,
जी
तुम ये कर लो, तुम वो कर लो. I think somewhere the parents have to understand their children have to grow happy.
yeah, that word is missing
If
here.
they grow happy, they will absorb education better.
True.
They will absorb values better. If they grow competitive, they will always be operate through fear.
Yeah.
They will always operate through either ego or fear. They will
Right.
always try to push people down. They will always try to build their happiness on someone else's unhappiness,
Right.
which will never last. So the parents have to really, really do one thing. They have to become happy. When they
Yes.
are happy, they will be able to cherish their children. You know, I always tell parents when they ask me, हम लोग क्या करें जी घर में, बच्चा सुनता ही नहीं है. So I tell them, please cherish your child. Also cherish your wife. Also cherish your parents. आप बच्चे और बीवी के साथ बहुत अच्छे और माँ बाप के साथ बड़ी बदतमीजी करते हो तो वो बच्चा देखता है.
सीखता है
You
फिर वो
have to
चीज
you have to
सीख
really cherish your parents. If there is a God, you know, I am always a borderline atheist.
okay.
If there is a God, you know, my atheism is a very different kind of atheism. I don't believe in a general way of looking at God. I feel God is everywhere, is in you, in me, is
Okay.
talking to each other right now. So if there is a God, the clearest form you will see in parents.
Yeah.
Most selfless love that you ever got in your life. जब आप सो नहीं सकते थे, जब छोटे से थे, when you were screaming and shouting, they would wake up
They
all
were
night
there.
just to
Yeah. Right.
ensure that you're fine. So this is what I tell parents, please become very happy. Please cherish your parents. Please cherish your wife. Please cherish your neighbors and create that kind of a environment and house so that the children grows into a very happy person.
Wonderful. So were you a backbencher or a front
I was
row
an
you?
absolute backbencher, absolute backbencher,
Really? Okay.
absolute backbencher. I had my own world which I lived in. I
Okay.
still do. And I still don't follow any norms. अगर आज भी मुझे कोई बोलता है कि ये करने से बच्चे अच्छे निकलते हैं तो बकवास है. You know, ultimately it is the values that you get. My grandmother gave me the most wonderful values in the world. She was a very, very religious person. She always taught me that God is within you. There is nowhere
Yeah.
else.
Absolutely.
And because God is within you, you're infinitely potential. You have infinite potential. Please go
True.
expand that potential. That is very important. If you see
Wonderful.
the history, some of the greatest people in India have come from very humble backgrounds.
Yeah. So clearly you were, in your own world back then, and you're still in your own world right now. And you're also creating a world because you're writing a book, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, can you tell us about it? I mean, what is it about?
So I write a lot of quotes and I write a lot
Yeah.
of stuff which are very two-liners, four-liners, which have a very deep meaning. So this book is all about every page will have a quote.
Okay.
Will have a part of my painting or my sketch. I
Oh.
paint also. I do abstract
Wonderful.
paintings. And it will have an explanation for the quote.
Okay.
And it will be generally talking about philosophy and life and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I've been working on this book for some time. Recently, not been getting too much time, but slowly and steadily getting towards that only.
Yeah.
So whenever it is ready, you will definitely get one copy from my
Oh,
side.
thank you so much. I'll be honored. Yeah.
I want to see it on that shelf. So it's basically about how I see life.
Yeah.
And probably everybody has their own way of seeing life.
Right.
And this is my point of view towards life and how I relate to life and poetry and art and stuff like that. It's there. So it's going to be a very wholesome kind of a book, which will have things about philosophy, things about art, literature, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we are at the fag end of this interview. A couple of questions more. I mean, what would you say to now? I'm coming back to the education policy now. What would you say to the administration of the schools, who's very busy in just maintaining the status quo because of this pandemic? What would you say to them? Like, should they make more space for innovation now, or should they just think of survival? I mean, what's your message to them?
So I'll be very clear with you. There are a lot of schools which are very struggling very hard to sustain themselves.
Sadly, yes. Yeah.
Yes. So we have to see the practical aspect. I want these schools to do, I would request these schools to first focus on, saving the institutions. That is extremely important because a lot of schools have closed.
Yeah.
There have been hundreds of schools that have closed, institutions that have closed. A lot of coaching institutes are going bankrupt. It's simply because of the pandemic. So the first and foremost aspect is to save themselves. And the second aspect would be to learn from this pandemic and make yourself future ready. So there might be more pandemics in the future. You don't know. We never know.
Yeah.
They've been predicting now that the data is coming. They say there can be other pandemics that come in the future, maybe 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line.
Right.
So we have to be well prepared for that. I think any good preparation is when you start something and you think about 50 years in advance. So they have to again go back to the hybrid system where they'll have to be ready. So when the pandemic happened, a lot of schools were on the back foot. They didn't realize what to do.
Yeah.
And they had to reluctantly, and they had to it was very difficult for them to move on to an online mode.
True.
And some schools who were ready pehle se, they were able to do better. So first of all, they have to survive. And trust me, it's so difficult for teachers now. Every day when I see my own son taking these online classes,
Yeah.
the teachers have to handle their children, their houses, and everything, and plus they have to prepare for this. And it's so difficult to manage these naughty children on the screens and taking their attendance and stuff like that. I have a lot of compassion for teachers. हम ना हमेशा teachers को as इस तरह से देखते हैं कि भाई उनका तो काम ही है, उनको तो करना है. They are also humans like us. We have to have a lot of respect for teacher.
Yeah.
A lot of respect. Guru Shishya Parampara mein the first and foremost thing was utmost respect for teacher.
Right.
Only when you will have respect, you will be able to take that Guru Dakshina, that Shiksha, and give that Guru Dakshina. It never starts with you blaming the teacher. Iska to job hi hai, isne karna hai. Teachers have to be respected. So let them survive. Once they survive and learn from this pandemic, prepare for the future, I'm sure they're going to thrive also. So
Wonderful.
I'm just looking forward to that.
Wonderful. And we began our conversation with the word gratitude. So I mean, I would like you to, just speak with children now and just tell them what gratitude is and how they should be, going ahead in their lives. A message for them.
Yeah. So the simplest message I have for all the children out there who are listening to us right now is that आपके parents का काम था आपको पाल पोस के बड़ा कर देना. That's about it. Anything else that comes in your life is a bonus. And anything that you get as a bonus, have a lot of gratitude. And gratitude starts, I am telling you from my own example. The reason I was able to have a lot of joy and victory in my life is simply because I had a lot of gratitude for my parents.
Wonderful.
A lot of gratitude for my parents. And because I had a lot of gratitude, I got a lot of blessings from them. A lot of gratitude for the food that was there on my table. Aaj bhi,
Right.
when I get my food on the table, my grandmother used to tell me to bow down to Annapurna. She used to say, this is not food. This is Goddess Annapurna in front of you. So I would bow down to the food. Until date, I bow down to the food. I feel very grateful. Even if it's a dal chawal, I'm very grateful. Even it's a 5-star meal. We have so a lot of conferences in the 5 stars. I eat the best meal. I still have gratitude. Gratitude increases the joy in life. And आप कभी भी देखना जो इंसान सबसे दुखी होंगे उनकी लाइफ में सबसे बड़ी जो होगी प्रॉब्लम होगी वो will be ingratitude.
Right.
They will always be either complaining, or they will always be grumbling, or they will be blaming their parents, they'll be blaming their bosses, they'll be blaming their spouses. जो लोग blame करते हैं, दूसरों पे shift करते हैं अपनी
Complaints,
blames.
Ji.
For them, the biggest pill to take in life is gratitude. And you can start by faking it also. Psychologically, I have studied it somewhere, is you can start by faking it also. Fake it till you make it. But if you deeply ponder, there's so much to be thankful about. So if the children develop the habit of gratitude, if we develop the habit of gratitude right now, whenever you start is the right time. I say that we live in an infinite universe.
Yeah.
And we are infinite souls. That's how I think. So wherever you start is the right time.
Wonderful.
Because in infinity, there's no beginning and there's no end.
Absolutely, sir.
So we can start from gratitude right now.
Yeah.
Just have a lot of gratitude for your parents. Just start from this.
Wonderful, wonderful. There are just, some conversations that you just don't want to end. So it's one of them clearly. So, but, with those wonderful messages to all administrators, teachers, parents, and students also, we'd like to, thank you, Mr. Khanna, for taking your time and speak with us.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you. It's so comfortable talking to you. And I really look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, absolutely. We also do. And I would like to thank our viewers until we meet again in the next episode. Thank you so much.